Everybody. I'm Steve Wright. I'm the sector navigator for ICT statewide, and welcome to our ICT Educator webinar series. This webinar series is brought to you by our entire team of regional directors and the Economic Workforce Development program, and all of our speakers join us and share their knowledge and their information free of charge. Everything here is about benefiting the student. We have in our archives now, I believe, I have to look at the number every week. It's getting 54. I think by the time the season's end, we'll be at 60 webinars. And we tend to average about 70 to 100 views per webinar by the time, because some people view them live, some people view them after. That's why we do the recording, edit it, provide a complete transcript, slides, and any links that are relevant. So this is an incredible thing. We did a survey recently, and faculty that attend this on a regular basis, which is about 80% community college faculty, said they take this information and directly bring it in and share it as part of their curriculum and to their student base. So we feel really good about that. In the next couple of weeks, we've got some wonderful things. James Stanger from CompTIA is going to be with us to talk about what's new with CompTIA and what they're seeing in terms of the labor market. And then we're going to have Eon Reality come back. They've been making extraordinary strides in artificial reality training, CTE, worldwide. And they're saying, how come it's not catching on in California? We got the whole world doing this. And so they're going to talk to us about a grant opportunity they have. And then Charlotte's going to be back again with her Microsoft pals to talk about Microsoft K14 portals and tools you can use there. So, but this week I'm especially excited because we're going to be looking at the evolution of the cloud computing pathways that have been developed. I think Santa Monica City College started this thing off with a bang with their AWS thing, and Solomon was part of that. And now everybody else is looking at it. And I'd just like to take a moment and do a quick screen share of a email that I get, an email newsletter called Cloud Wars by Bob Evans. Anybody who's interested in cloud, I highly recommend that you sign up for this. This is number 76. And the boom is just beginning. And when you look at the market share, when I used to do market research for Verizon, this is the kind of thing that this is my morning news. Okay. Microsoft's at with Azure is astonishing 16.7 billion market share. Amazon has always been the leader, is huge. Google Cloud started off with almost nothing about a year ago, is climbing up. Salesforce, of course, a different type of application. But you look at all these, Oracle, which was kind of asleep at the wheel for a while, has jumped in. ServiceNow growing like crazy. So when you think about cloud and the information we have on cloud, it basically indicates that students need to know a variety of platforms in any one particular company where they might work. And they're all growing, but you still have to start somewhere. And Amazon Web Services has done a wonderful job of making themselves very accessible and helping us get things started. So it's very logical that we would work with them, and anything you learn with Amazon Web Services, you can certainly parlay easily into some of the others. But on the other hand, a lot of adult learners might want to jump right into Azure. So we'll be watching those other technologies as well as their outreach. I just wanted to say that because I think the market research behind where we go is something we all need to keep up on. Cloud's moving very rapidly, so I recommend you all start with that newsletter to keep up to date. Right now, I'm going to turn it over to, I guess, Charlotte. Are you going to kick off?
Yes, indeed. Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Charlotte Augenstein, and I am the Regional Director for ICT Digital Media. And with me today, we have our team. And I would like for each of us, Solomon, Dorothy, and Sherry, just to introduce yourself, a little bit about what your role is. And then I will pass the baton to Solomon, who will dive a little deeper into our Los Angeles cloud pathway and the amazing work that we've done and what we're doing. So Solomon.
Thank you, Charlotte and team, for having us today. My name is Salomon Davila. I'm a project manager working in Strong Workforce project here in Southern California, with the Santa Monica College being the lead of the project. Thank you.
Hi, everyone.
Sherry, I'm sorry.
I'm Sherry Shadrai. I'm a director with Career Ladders Project. Career Ladders Project is under the auspice of the Foundation for California Community Colleges, and we support colleges, workforce partners, their high school partners in equity-minded redesign. So we do a lot of kind of workshops, professional development, capacity building all across the state, kind of research on a local level, research on a larger level, policy on a local level, policy on a larger level. And I have been fortunate enough to be part of this amazing team for the past few years that has developed these programs across California.
And last but not least, Dorothy.
Good morning, I'm Dorothy Phillips. I'm the lead faculty at Los Angeles Harbor College, also the lead AWS faculty. Really excited to be part of the Santa Monica team and just looking forward to it. Thank you very much.
Oh, wonderful. With that said, I'm going to pass the baton to Solomon, who will share his deck. So I will stop sharing.
Once again, thank you for having us today. We're glad to share our journey, essentially. This is a project that we were asked to describe a little bit of how it developed, how it transitioned from an idea into reality. And so what you'll see here is essentially how we undertook a regional project here in Southern California. And I believe you will recognize a lot of the aspects involved, and hopefully this is informative to you. So these are some of the things that we started off with in our project. We wanted to make certain that this was a regional coordinated project for the results, that we adhere to labor market information. As many of you know, that's really the ticket in terms of developing any new programs. Align all our curriculum with industry's help and their credentials, and utilize a model that many folks call this differently across the nation, but it's a pathway model, one that is supports students from various entryways to various exits of the curricular model, with student assistance and work experience included. You'll see how we included that in there. Last but not least, this project included a professional project management, that's me, which was addressing all the trains to go on time and all the details to be observed and the outcomes to be adhered to. And so that assisted our projects as well. So I'm glad to have participated in that regard. Just another way to frame this for everybody so that you can see how we approached this project is that we wanted to make certain that there were certain themes involved in anything that we did. And one thing was, it was open source collaboration. Everything we did, we make sure that we were going to share, or how we were able to share. We were able to leverage code development of curriculum, either with faculty or with industry. We wanted to communicate to the regional employer pool to make certain that we can draw upon them for advisory, for internships, as you'll see later on. And then last but not least, this ambitious goal to have some sort of common student assessment so that we can collectively know how we're doing as a region. Obviously, students are in different classes at different colleges, but we wanted something common that we can see. I'll share that how we've been doing with that as well. Before we get started, let's show a brief video. I think this should appear in your windows.
In technology and how it works. Whenever I've been on my phone or computer, I was always curious about what makes this technology possible. Taking the cloud computing class at El Camino gave me the insight I was looking for. The class introduced me to Amazon Web Services, which really opened my eyes to the possibilities and career opportunities available within cloud computing. Now, I know what it takes to build an audience on my channel, how to hack smart devices, and most importantly, advance in a career with my cloud computing skills.
We are committed to providing students with the opportunity to gain career-boosting skills. That's why we partnered with Amazon Web Services to work on a cloud computing certificate. Students will learn how to stream media to any size audience across the web using AWS. They'll also learn how to build systems that can handle tomorrow's demanding applications like self-driving vehicle systems, machine learning, and more. Students don't only have the opportunity to learn about engaging and exciting ideas, but they'll be able to build them too. Take your skills to the next level with a cloud computing class powered by AWS at El Camino College.
that was one of our partner colleges, El Camino, and their sizzle reel, as we call it, because we felt from the very beginning, not only the regional branding, which is California Cloud Workforce, which covers a lot of Southern California colleges, even into Ventura and Inland Empire. There's actually some colleges in the Bay Area that participated with us at the onset. And so we really embarked a lot of California in general. And each college has their own sort of recruitment video, as you saw there, that we felt was important to introduce themselves to their community and to their partner high schools or employers. So how does that look like? Well, we had to think about the full spectrum of who our stakeholders were in a career pathway model that you see here, very briefly described. We had to think about our high school partners and how they operated, what sort of courses they needed to partner for enrollment of their students, whether it be dual enrollment or concurrent enrollment. Obviously, we needed to develop a curriculum for our colleges that was common across all of our colleges, including a regional certificate that was pre-approved at our regional level. That way, it was very easy for colleges to adopt a common curriculum, which was already approved at the regional level. In California here, we have about 7 regions. And so we here preempted the application of any college submitting their program by essentially have it pre-approved. Last but not least, thinking about certifications and their transition into employment and what would be success for our students, and especially understanding where they come from. And you'll see in a moment how we studied really carefully where our students came from, what they needed, and how to help them to transition into the cloud. So we had to think about all the interactions that involved there. And of course, videos like you saw there was something that really assisted with introducing students and employers to the programs. So a little bit about the outcome. So that's sort of background information to let you know how we started. From that, we developed some clear outcomes that we wanted to drive. First one is developing a community of practice. We realized from our experience before, myself, Sherry, she'll address this in a moment, we knew that this wouldn't launch without a community of practice, meaning the way that we define community practice is that if there was no interest in helping someone else within that community, right? If there's no interest in assistance from faculty helping other faculty or students helping other students, we knew that we didn't have a community. And so we worked really hard to develop events, develop methods of collaboration, levels of trust, levels of sort of interdependencies between one another. All of that was really well coordinated, I think, to make certain that everyone was well supported in whichever level they felt. Some folks were very high on the technical side. Some were very high on the teaching side. Some were very high on the high school. Some were very high on the employer side. So we wanted to make sure we drew upon everybody to share their expertise and to share that with everybody and to be validated in the way that our community sort of saw that as an asset and that we needed that. And so that was something that was critical to our project, and I believe we achieved that. These are many pictures of our events. We have faculty getting trained. We have students at Cloud Days, as we call them, which were essentially employer interaction with our students. We even had a Cloud in It that you see there at the top, where it was the welcoming of alumni students, welcoming in new students into the programs. And by the way, this is all at a regional level. So these are students from various colleges welcoming students from other colleges under the umbrella of California Cloud Workforce. And so there was a lot of the planning and logistical aspects to this, to making certain people met, people shared, people were celebrated, and their contributions warranted to this very ambitious goal of developing the community practice. So I'm really glad we have that, and it's sustained itself through COVID times, of course, virtually, but a lot of great success on the community practice. Outcome number 2, common curriculum. So here, not only do we want a common curriculum, but we wanted to make certain that we didn't leave the high schools out. We wanted to make certain that we drew upon the high schools. And with that in mind, we actually came up with a 4 core curriculum, for which the first one, Intro to Cloud Computing, could be quite general and could even have been morphed to like an Intro to IT if need be. So we felt that that was necessary for the high school connection. And then what you see here is just 3 general cloud topics that you see there, including 2 electives that are actually college, unique to the college, right? Where the college can actually do some specialty development for their offering. In other words, a college can specify that we're going to do the core plus networking, advanced networking, or the core plus machine learning, or the core and app development, for example. And I'll come back to that in a moment. You see the 4 courses here. If you have the link to the presentation, which I put in the chat, you can actually access the core shells. And so these core shells were developed, and now I think they're at version 4. And we have 16 colleges, which you'll see in a moment, but they are welcome to start with these shells as a baseline, and they can either add, augment, delete, whatever they need to, but at least everyone starts with a baseline of what would be the general outline of a course. These are free and public to use. If you want to take a look at them, you can download them and install them in a Canvas shell. And you know, essentially, it's a starting off point. And that really helped out a lot of new instructors as we got this rolling and grew the classes and sections. The electives that you see here, that's been proven to be something of a fortuitous planning on our behalf, because now there's a lot of students that have taken the 4 core courses, and now that the faculty are producing sort of electives in cloud, students are sort of interchanging between colleges and taking these electives to their interest. You know, some colleges are offering Azure as their electives, and so students are taking the Azure class in that college. Some colleges are doing cloud app development, and so those students interested in that are going to that college. And so it really helps with the enrollment so that those specialty courses don't get canceled, and there's enough enrollment in these higher end classes. And so it's really worked out, I think, planning regionally this way for enrollment purposes. So what about enrollment? As projected, we have hit our mark with roughly, we expected 1,800 students, 1,800 enrollments. These are not students, which is roughly between 300 to 400 students, depending on how many classes they take. But we've been, you can see here, based on our projections, these are scheduled classes. And so we got there. We actually exceeded our expectations. And that's because there's a college that just started this spring, which will only be growing. They've been adding more sections for the spring. So enrollment has grown, but as you may imagine, in order for us to be able to offer as many classes for enrollments that you see here, faculty had to be trained, the shell had to be reviewed. There's a lot of preparatory work that was involved in making certain that the classes were going to be successful, including some of the high school partnerships that we also worked on as well. So I'm really glad that our team collectively has achieved this great marker. Here are some of the colleges by their numbers. You can see there's several colleges that really are much larger than others, but that's only because they kind of started early. The other colleges are hot on their heels, so to say, and soon will sort of, improve on their numbers, I'm certain. But yeah, some of those got started earlier, and some just got started this spring, like Mount SAC. But Mount SAC is a huge college that pretty soon will catch up to and supersede some of the other colleges I project. So since fall 2017, we've had over 5,600 enrollments within these courses. So that's a pretty big number at this point here. Quite successful. So a little bit about the enrollments, just so that you can see that the intro course, remember the 4 core courses that we focused on, that's still the majority of the courses offered as expected. The other 3 are kind of evenly distributed, and then we foresee this cloud elective growing as the time progresses. So we'll measure that. But it's only been over the last year, this spring and last fall, that really is half of the enrollment has been reached. So you can see that we just broke this sort of pattern just recently, but I foresee this to sustain itself for the longevity of the enrollment. So that achievement of enrollment has marked done, essentially. Outcome number 3 is partnerships with our industry, and actually more than just industry, but also organizations. And so all the logos and the folks you see here really helped us out in a variety of ways, from developing advisory minutes, developing reports with local economic development groups, CLP, which you'll hear more a little bit about their role in a moment with Sherry's help. AWS Educate and AWS Academy assisted with our training efforts. WASC, which I see Richard on here, really helped a lot to systematize the training of the faculty, which we were doing locally, and then it just got too much, too big, and we're glad for their help. And of course, any channel partners that Charlotte has introduced to us to, and of course our regional consortia for a variety of reasons. They're a great resource as well. So this could not have been possible without the input and just putting resources together from a variety of different regional systems that you see here in order to be partners. So here's a brief video, I think, that will show how we're trying to recruit more employers. So that's just an example of a campaign that's going to be rolling out to start soliciting employers for the new internship program, which I'll describe a little bit later on. But the whole point is that the focus on partnerships, the focus on employers is also very prevalent in this project as well.
Solomon, could I ask a question?
Sure.
From the student base that you have right now, how many need a new job? And how many are like getting trained within the job they're in to expand their capabilities, so they don't really need a new job? It might be an upgrade.
Yeah. I'll share out that information in I think 2 more slides, Steve. I don't know the number off the top of my head, but it's you'll see it in a moment. So just before we get into the employment, because that really, what your question, Steve, led us to basically the continuation of this into employability. Internship certifications, which many of us in our respective colleges are trying to address individually. We attempted to do this regionally. For cloud, we selected the AWS certifications. There's 2 specific certifications that we selected: the cloud practitioner and the solutions architect associate. With that in mind, I'm going to actually switch it over to Dorothy to describe this process a little bit. Dorothy?
Yes. Good morning again. I just would like to share our experience and small success at Harbor College. I've been working in the AWS technology for the last 2.5 years, and it's exciting to be a part of it because it's a brand new technology. Been around less than 15 years, and we all know in the IT industry, 15 years, how many lifetimes? But we have the 4 core courses that Solomon mentioned, and 2 electives. And the beauty of this program is it can be completed within 2 semesters, 1 year. So we started at Harbor in the spring of 20 with 8 students. And we ran our intro class again during the summer of 2020. We picked up another 25 students. And by the end of the fall semester, we had 5 students that were eligible for the Cloud Practitioner Bootcamp, which would prep them for the certification, the industry certification. So in my final class, I had the option of giving the student the boot camp, or they could do a class project. So several of them, 5, opted to take the boot camp. So thanks to the Solomon and Santa Monica team, we set it up whereby the students were invited by the faculty and they were sent an email. And in that email, they had an assessment test. And in that assessment, we could determine whether or not they were ready for the boot camp. And if they were, they registered. So during the boot camp, we took them from everything from, since we are certified, from the actual exam and the psychology involved in the exam, even from the time of day that works well for them in taking the exam, and the belief that since they've had those 4 courses that they could pass the exam. So we focused on that a little bit to make sure that they were confident that they could pass the exam. And we went through the boot camp. So we went over the 4 AWS domains. Solomon went over 2 in the morning, and the beauty of the boot camp and going over the domains and the various topics, at the end of each topic, we presented them with questions. Solomon set up with polls everywhere for the students to go and actually take the test based on the topics from the individual domain. So that was very successful. So after the boot camps, the students were given different assessments. And based on those assessments, the faculty could determine by the percentages where they were ready for the actual certification. And if they were, the Santa Monica team also provided an incentive. We had the $100 vouchers that we provided to them to take the actual certification. So in my case, I had 5 students that completed the local certificate as well as passing the industry exam. And you're going to hear a lot about the team effort. This would not have been possible without Solomon and the Santa Monica team and the regional consortium, Charlotte and everybody. This, Sherry, everybody, this harvest is everybody's seed. We didn't have to start all over. We have all the support in the world. So the next step, as Solomon said, is internships and employment. And I'm very confident that we'll get there as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dorothy, for describing. She assisted in this process of regionalizing what you see here as a flow map to essentially orchestrate the vouchers that students would get and to prepare them through, as Dorothy mentioned, this process of the boot camp. With that boot camp, there was some practice exams. And so going to the sort of regional assessment, just a little bit before that, this will answer your question, Steve. So you asked me how many students were ready for the job employment when they came in. We first asked them, what was your goal, immediate goal? And the overwhelming response we get is to get that AWS Solutions Architect Associate certification. That is the #1 goal, as you see here. Shortly thereafter, that is the cloud practitioner, but I think they just understand certification. So that is definitely the goal. I believe the majority of those folks understand that that comes first before the full employment. You can see securing full employment comes shortly thereafter that. So I'm certain that the folks that are getting certified, the majority of them probably are going to seek full employment afterwards already. So you can see how it's a significant portion of our students that are looking for employment and to prepare themselves by getting certified. They also want to finish the certificate there at the college. So they understand the value of the courses, and many of them want to complete it, as you see here. Some of them will continue with an associate's degree, as indicated here, but only 12% say that their goal is to transfer to university. So we have a lot of folks beginning their career, within their careers and looking to upskill essentially. And I believe either in this slide or maybe I kind of brushed over it earlier, over 40% of our students have a bachelor's or master's degree already. So a quite significant portion of our students are getting to be, to come upskill.
Thank you for that. I think it's an important thing because, in the tech industry, I've been there for 30 years. You see people all the time saying, I'm getting rusty. I need to go back and get a certificate or learn something or do something new, or times are changing. If I want to get that job over in that department, I need to learn this. And so for them, they're already employed. And I wonder if we differentiate our approach to those people from the people that are just like starting out and their eyes are wide open, like, I don't know if I can do this. And I heard Dorothy mention a lot of things about how to accommodate people who maybe a little insecure, you know, and I think that's good, but it sounds to me like we may have two tracks here.
There are, I would agree with you. And I think what we're trying to do right now, which I'll get to in a moment, addresses a little bit more of that second, more prepared track. Just to wrap up the certification, because I do believe we just happened to develop this over last year, really, into something I think that is a success, another success of our outcomes. You can see the certifications that were processed, the majority for the cloud practitioner, although we are getting into the solutions architect already, and that number is going to grow. The attendance of the boot camps have been quite well received for a variety of reasons. And so this is just the boot camp sort of numbers, but what we're getting from the regional assessment or the common assessment, we're looking at the practice exams that we're having as a carrot to get that voucher, right? Dorothy mentioned the voucher system that students can obtain to take the certification exam. Their incentive is to go through the process of taking the practice exams after the boot camp. And so now we have a wealth of information, regional information in aggregate, of knowing how students are doing through these practice exams. What's the general, this is just some information that we're analyzing of the number of questions per exam, how students, the distribution of the correct answers across the exams. And then you can see we're actually analyzing down to the question level. That you can't see the question. There's over 300 questions, I think, for our practice exams. But you can see that we can start zeroing in on those questions that students are failing to help improve our regional programs, right? And so we can discuss this as a regional level. These are the questions that students are failing on their practice exams, and how can we improve to cover these topics? Either the boot camp can be improved, some curriculum can be improved, et cetera. So this is I think a very timely way that our faculty are going to get this information so that we can improve our processes. I'm going to switch it over to Sherry to discuss a little bit of how we captured a lot of this and her contribution with CLP. Sherry?
Thank you, Solomon. So CLP has been a partner working with the project team, faculty, everyone that's been involved on this project for the past few years, and most focus on kind of providing professional development. And we provided two publications that were just released, I think about 2 weeks ago. And I'll put that in here, and it documents what we've done. The first one is kind of focused on the community of practice that was built. So the structure, the leadership, the consistent meetings, the consistent webinars, being intentional about the professional development, co-designing the professional development, keeping in mind what the folks need. So it's timely and it's relevant. And I think what was really critical to see with this community of practice is that we had 19 colleges that were part of this community practice, and certain colleges came on earlier on, and then certain ones came on a little bit later. And the fact that a college can come on year 2, year 3, year 4, and they're fairly new to it, but there was this kind of consistent home team that was able to support them through that process and feel like they weren't alone in this, that they didn't have to go through all these processes by themselves. It was more of a plug and play. I think that was really critical for faculty. It empowered them to feel like they were part of a larger community, and it empowered them to be able to move forward and move faster and not be alone in this. I think it was also really critical for students to see, and I hear this all the time when we do our student focus groups, is that students feel like they're alone at the community college. They feel isolated. They don't really feel like there's connections. They don't, they sometimes feel like they just go take a class and leave. And what we saw through this, especially the cloud days, the regional cloud days, it was, we had regional cloud days on a Saturday, and we had 150 students showing up from all across the region. And they're saying like they're seeing other students that are taking the program, and it really empowers them to feel like they're part of something larger, that there's people there that are really working behind the scenes to make this possible for them. And so those are really some of the lessons that we tried to capture. And of course, some of the things, that we hope that we can do better for future programs, lessons learned and ways that we can build this more intentionally in the future. The second one is really focused on industry engagement and how do we build those partnerships? How do we make those connections for students? Essentially, we are really looking to change the way the narrative around community college students. When we have community college students interacting with employers, we don't want to just throw them in there. We want to make sure that they're well prepared. We want to make sure that they feel confident. We want to make sure that they are coming and representing themselves in the best way possible so that we can continue to build these industry partnerships. So, you know, those boot camps that everyone was talking about is really intentionally designed with faculty co-designing it. How do we, you know, do the cloud days so that they're interacting and networking with folks on a more regular basis so they don't feel, you know, that imposter syndrome and all the other things that come along with, you know, navigating these spaces that may feel like intimidating to them. So the industry engaged pathway publication really highlights kind of the way that we've been able to interact with industry and engage them. And so if you want to check out those two, I put it in the chat and it's the first two publications linked on our CLP page. But I wanted to just take a moment to, if you could go to the next slide, Solomon, is to share stories from two of the students and they're featured in the publication. One is Isabel Wagernud. She's a rising senior at Santa Monica High School, and she, you know, took, and this was intentional, the way that we were able to make connections with the high school as well to provide dual enrollment opportunities for students. So a student can kind of get a lead on their cloud computing program, or maybe they're just kind of a little interested, but they're not exactly sure what they want to go into. This is kind of a great transition into the college. So she was a rising senior. She took dual enrollment classes and she's continuing on in the program. And she actually got an internship with Kokomo Solutions. And she's a senior, like she hasn't even finished high school yet. And it's just what that does to students' confidence. That is something that is like, we could talk about these numbers and the metrics and the outcomes, but that I think right there is the game changer. That's where it's at. And then Jonathan, who is really great, and he has presented at Cloud Days as kind of alumni, trying to support other students that are coming into the program. But he was pursuing a cybersecurity degree at LA Mission. And so as he's pursuing that kind of long-term degree, he came across the cloud computing program. So he went and got, you know, the cloud computing certification while he's on this longer term trajectory. And I think that's so incredibly critical, especially for our students who are working, are single parents, are, you know, have families to support. They need to be able to get paid. And I truly believe that this is an anti-poverty strategy. How are we going to get students into positions where they're getting paid? And, you know, it may not be the end all be all for them, but at least it's in a program or in an industry that is relevant to what they're pursuing for their longer term goals. And so when they're featured in the publication, I actually sent them the publications. They responded like, can I put this on my LinkedIn? Can I link it there? I was like, please do. Like, and so just the fact that they're thinking that way, like not only am I involved in this, but I'm also going to market and brand myself, so I'm getting more exposure, I think is really a testament to all the great work that folks have done on this project. And I just included one quote, just a quick humble brag from Howard Stahl, who's the department chair at Santa Monica College. And he said, I have never seen any other program at my college have such a life-altering effect on students' lives. This program helps students pursue their careers in tech. Coupled with industry recognized certifications, students are getting employed in great jobs with fantastic companies all over the tech field. It is so absolutely wonderful to see. And I mean, I included that because I just feel that sentiment, and it's been a highlight of my professional career is working on this project. I'm really, really grateful for this team. But I think having that home team, that consistent community of practice that folks can tap into has been just absolutely critical. But yeah, I'm really grateful for that. And if you have any questions about those publications, or if you want to learn more, please feel free to reach out to me or to Solomon, and we can definitely support you.
I just got to add a high five on that, because the way you expressed that, Sherry, and the way you brought about the feeling, they got to work, and they got to make money. And We see so much of people falling off a track in life. I want to be this, but right now I got to work at Starbucks.
Right. Yeah,
And that's,
true.
they're in food service for 20 years. And nothing wrong with food service. I've done that myself. But maybe they really wanted to do that. The sooner we can get them employed. I just love that that's part of this program and those cloud days. I know, Charlotte, you've had a lot to do with that too. And just getting those people together so they feel like they're part of something. That's so,
Mhm.
I mean, it just feels good hearing it. Thank you.
Yeah, and even during the cloud days, the industry partners were saying, if you have retail experience, if you worked at McDonald's, if you have customer service experience, that's a benefit for this program because we need you to be interacting with companies to help them set up their cloud computing. So if you have that kind of retail, like leverage that. And so I think that also helps students reshape their own narrative of their own experiences and feeling.
Yeah, so much of this is the student's own identity. To identify myself as a technological person.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
that's so valuable.
Yeah, it's been
Well
really good.
said. Well, thank you very much, Sherry, for your contribution and CLP's support in this project. And as she has mentioned, those documents really is the tell-all for how this project was done in more detail than I shared here. So definitely reference those for some very good documentation and aspects of our project. And just, I know we're running off to the Q&A session, so just briefly, I'm going to let you know what we're doing as of today, moving forward for the next year and a half, roughly. These are some long-term metrics, which are kind of nebulous and kind of very large, and we can't really we have to unpack these quite a bit in our world. So let me describe really what this means, which involves employability of students and earnings. For those of you who have implemented a career pathway model, this may look familiar. This is the work experience continuum that we reference in terms of how we're guiding students in our programs through this continuum of work experience. Cloud days, which you've heard mentioned here a couple of times, are really the industry visits, guest speakers, career fairs, hackathons. They're on the sort of the beginning end, where employer engagement is pretty much one to many at a very large scale. We're trying to move it up in this spectrum here that you see here as we're trying to reach the internship level. However, internships, although very useful for those students who get it, it's very difficult to scale. Personally, I've worked with many colleges, over 40 at this point, in trying to develop this. And there's a lot of energy involved with just pairing employers and interns. Now, I know they're very valuable, and those who get it are obviously qualified and useful to them, but we wanted to broaden this up to be much more, let's say, democratic with a small d, to get folks to experience real world problems. So just a little bit about how we approached this. So we looked at the students and where they were at coming into our program. I think this is the slide I thought I had skipped earlier, but we looked at their majors and what they represented. We have a diversity of majors, mostly in the CS and CIS background. We also have a variety of educational background. We have folks from high school. As I mentioned earlier, bachelor's degrees and master's degrees are 42.5% of our students, roughly speaking. The next big group are actually certified students, the technical certification and even associate degrees. So there's a lot of reskilling and retraining within our student body. And many of them do not have previous work experience. If they do have work experience, it's non-technical, as you may see here. Some do have technical IT experience, which we definitely wanted to leverage and actually find it of some use as we develop our internship program. Even help desk was very useful to know, with no work experience being one of the lower spectrum ones here. One interesting point, just to point this out, that employer adoption of cloud and career transition is also quite prevalent within our student body. So these folks are looking to, in a situation where they just need special attention, right? There's some pressure, maybe outside pressures involved in their life that is leading them to be there. And so we wanted to recognize that and assist with that as well, while the majority are just for general career advancement. So what did all that mean? Well, we have a new sort of outcome that we adopted for our new project. This is really the main thing, is employment preparation. specifically to develop a process to orient students to real world problems and obtain practical experience and an employer evaluation for the resume. We did a pilot last year and we got some feedback of our students that they needed to discuss their experience in cloud in a way that allowed them to express real practical experience, not just classroom experience. And so with that in mind, we are adopting an existing model that was tested by CCC Maker here in California. This was a $17 million project implementing maker spaces. And part of that, I was part of that team. And part of that project, we had over 800 internships to develop. So it's really a scale problem to do this. And the model that resulted from our working with my colleagues in that project is this model of team internships. Now, team internships is a different model where you invite an employer to bring to your students a problem or a business challenge, as you may see here in this sort of step-by-step session call out. So this business challenge that you see there is highly negotiated first and foremost by a coach. And this coach could be a faculty member or it could be a work experience sort of specialist in the college or as a team working together with the employer to come up with this business challenge. The challenge is presented to students in groups. So this is how we can scale this. And the employer gets asked a lot of questions by the students so that the students essentially develop the problems they need to solve themselves. The employer then provides some feedback about these problems, like which are more important or which are more relevant, those sort of things. Students get to work in groups, and this is where having a variety of backgrounds really helps, because some that are more technical, some that are even outside of the discipline, and maybe they're graphic designers or engineers or even nursing or English majors, can assist with just critical thinking and some aspects to the problem that needs to be addressed, especially if the employer is trying to develop something like a marketing campaign, right? Where yes, it involves cloud, but it also involves some marketing as well, right? And so it really works well when you have a variety of students in those groups. Solutions are developed and they make a plan for that solution. So really it's just a proposal that's developed. It's not an actual working model prototype, although it can be if you extend the time. This is meant to be roughly about 20 hours that I'm describing here of interaction with students. At the end, the students propose a solution to the employer, and of course there's groups so that the employer would essentially have various presentations from a variety of groups. And the employer would then choose essentially which solution would work best for them. And at the same time, students are learning about the employer. They're learning about the business itself. The employer is asked to invite 4 or 5 of their colleagues from that company to evaluate the students the day of the presentations. So they work in the teams, they do a little bit of feedback, they get evaluated, and the students get a chance to get that feedback from the employers. There's a video link in there. If you downloaded the link, I invite you to watch I think we did that with Sac City quite successfully. And there's a whole guidebook of over 100 pages of how to actually do each one of these sessions and how to prepare for this. And so we're going to adopt this to our cloud project. It's going to look a little different, I'm certain, but we're looking to adopt like 4 or 5 cloud projects that are very prevalent in the industry. And we're going to promote to the employers, we can help you in these services, these cloud services, and come to our colleges to get assistance with these services. It's essentially what's going to be the pitch. So it's going to be a value-added proposition that we're going to put to employers versus essentially asking them for help. In an internship, we're going to essentially tell them our students are here to help you, and you're welcome to engage with us. So that's our next challenge, and I look forward to answering any questions at this point and hearing from anybody who wants to get a hold of us. My email is here at the bottom. And I think I put 2 links in there if you want to actually get into the weeds of the actual work plans that were involved at the local college level. I put the links in there so that you can look at all the work that was involved, all the tasks that each college had to accomplish to achieve their regional work. So thank you very much for having us.
That's terrific. I mean, I've been amazed at what you do, Solomon, for a long time. The way you organize this and do the slides and the depth and the focus and looking at all the different implications, how to get the students involved in the testing to see where it's done. Uh, your very comprehensive approach. And these colleges all benefit from that. But I did want to ask Charlotte if she could comment briefly on what other programs are in Southern California besides this particular one. We know the community college system is one where people love to go maverick and do their own thing. And matter of fact, I'm surprised you have this many colleges doing something similar, to tell you the truth. That is the most amazing thing. But Charlotte, could you comment on some of the other varieties of cloud that you see occurring in the Los Angeles or Southern California regions?
Of course. So going back to Santa Monica, who were the visionaries for introducing AWS, they've actually just brought on the Microsoft Azure platform. So they are doing the database essentials and then the Microsoft 900 series for their Azure fundamentals. I have a call with Mount SAC immediately after this. They want to bring on Microsoft Azure too. So we're going to map out their direction that they want to go. I have to say, you know, we're all a team. And as they all start to get their wings, become comfortable and expand their curriculum, it's just a win-win for the students and for the employers. So as Solomon had mentioned, you know, I work closely with the Microsoft channel partners. Many of them do both or multiple platforms. I don't want to exclude any of the platforms, and they are very interested in the pipeline of talent that comes out of the Los Angeles area. So we are working more and more close with them to help nurture that relationship and have a bridge for students to have the opportunity for, you know, immediate employment. For I'm working on a virtual internship as we're still in this pandemic, where we can get the students emerged not only with the cloud, but in the ecosystem of the IT world. And from that, I believe that more and more doors will open. Solomon's, you know, the theory is amazing, and I can just see the amount of attention it will get with industry. And I look forward to us just continuing to build the curriculum, have multiple stackable certifications. I'm a very big believer in them getting digital badges to help fill that resume as they start to just expand their knowledge beyond just the basic fundamentals of the cloud. I believe they should all know a little bit of project management. It's just making sure that they have some core foundation skills within the IT world so they can become a player and get noticed.
One of the things we do have that took years to develop is the IT model curriculum. And I know that the IT model curriculum has variations where it can be address cloud, cybersecurity, others. Do you see colleges sticking to the IT model curriculum and cloudifying it, or adding maybe the cybersecurity and following that program?
So we do have cybersecurity, which has really blossomed. We use NetLabs, and the cybersecurity, it's very, very big in Orange County. LA, it's emerging a little more. And then just the opposite, cloud is very, very strong in LA, and we're bringing it into Orange County. So everybody has their own ecosystem that they like to work in, and change is hard. So baby steps, but we're making great steps. With that said, we have questions. We've got a few minutes left.
Yeah, so hear from the group. Any questions in the chat, or anybody want to just go ahead and
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'll go ahead. First of all, I cannot tell you how impressed and how grateful I am for all the hard work. This is very impressive, and having developed courses and things like this, I know the struggles you've gone through to get to build up programs, and so I'm very, very impressed. A couple of quick questions. The certification within the institution, is that auto awarded? I know you, so when the degree, the certificate, said certificate, do you auto award that to the students, and is it transcriptable?
That's a local decision. We pretty much, provide the template, provide the everything, and it's up to them. Some of them do have it, some of them do not. I can tell you
Okay,
that.
and do any of these courses count for GE? Has anybody done that?
Richard's on the line here. We were working with the ICT model curriculum to attempt to try to get 3 of these courses, not all 4, but at least 3 of them for the mapping of. So again, it's a local decision. We provide them the resources and work with the statewide RDs team to try to get that accomplished.
All right, and then do you see any gaps in courses? I'm considering data engineering pathway after the cloud, because we're starting to see a lot of those. So do you see any gaps? Like I'm just thinking statistics and calculus that are data rich environments. So has any thought been given to that?
There was a college, 2 colleges, Mont Sac and Santa Monica, who have ventured into both machine learning and big data topics. And yes, the faculty, which I'll be glad to forward them your questions, I have brought these topics up, and they're locally, trying to address them somehow. I don't know the details, but you're right.
Okay, and once again, I cannot thank you enough for all of your hard work and, really building a great runway for us. I know how hard you worked, and I'm just very, very grateful. And I think our students are going to have some life-changing income because of this. So thank you very much.
On behalf of our team, you're welcome.
Do we have any other questions? Well, then we've done a great job.
Oh, wait, one more. Can we get access to the course outlines and syllabi? Are those up there anywhere?
They're not on the slide deck, but I can definitely provide those for you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Well, I would like to thank all of our presenters today. The team does an amazing job, and we look forward to coming back and presenting even more success stories. So thank you very much.
Yes, let me echo that, Charlotte, thank you. And Solomon, Dorothy, and Sherry for a wonderful presentation, very enlightening. And we should have this recorded and up in about a week, and you can share it with all your friends. Okay, thank you very much. Bye-bye.
For having us.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.